okay. I know I've heard some people say recently that they've had issues with live streams. So let's hope it's not us. Okay. And then you do want to go ahead and if you have the stream up on your computer, you want to go ahead and mute it, because if not, we're going to be hearing ourselves basically.
I don't have it up.
Okay. All right then.
I'm good.
Because that's usually a common issue we face. Okay.
Well, I mean,
and we are live. Hooray!
Hooray! Okay. I feel good about it.
Let me go ahead and tweet this out. See, it wasn't that hard now, was it?
It confused me slightly. I was on a real name email address too. I was like, oh, I have to change that. So
yeah,
that didn't
I've
help.
had that happen before too. Okay, let me just tweet this out. YouTube used to tweet it out for you, but they don't do that anymore for whatever reason.
I'm very out of the YouTube loop. I don't know what it does these days.
Right? I feel like they're constantly changing things.
Making people less and less money. That's all I know.
That is for sure. Making us all less money. Hi, Jack. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you to all 5 of you who are already here now. Hey, Fire. Glad to see you here. I'm just going to give people a little while to
Sure, I can't see who's in here, so hello to you strangers.
Hello to the strangers. Well, so far we've only had Jack and Fire post on the chat, and Mandy. Mandy is also here. Welcome, guys. I'm glad you could make it on a Wednesday. I have a weird schedule now, so it's not as easy for me to do the Friday nights that I used to.
Well, luckily, I also have a weird schedule, which is why I'm doing this at 1 a.m. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Thank you for accommodating to the Pacific Standard Time zone, because I know it's so late for you.
No, it's good. I'm awake anyways.
And yes, Fire, it's actually Thursday. Jesus, where has the time gone? Why did I say Wednesday? All right.
It's
welcome
Thursday now?
guys.
Oh, you're right. It is. Sorry. I didn't know
for
either.
You, it's Friday.
Oh, well, now I feel worse about it.
Yeah, see, for you, it's Friday, and for me, it's Thursday. And now I have
that up.
Bad Vibes said, I almost freaked out thinking it was only Wednesday. Sorry, guys. I'm making you all panic. Okay. So I did let Unit know that this was happening, so I don't know if he's going to come say hello or not.
I don't know. Does he get an invite? Okay. Is he special?
Well, I just let him know he could be invited if he wants to be. I just don't know what he's up to these days. I know he was working on your story, so maybe he's busy. I don't know. Maybe he'll tune in later.
Yeah, he's wrapping those up. He's on the last video, I think.
Yeah, he said he should be done today or tomorrow. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm sure we'll be talking about that later. Okay, sure. So I think we're just gonna go ahead and get started. Do you want to tell us a bit about yourself and what you do?
What I do in regular life, or what I do?
Oh no, I mean as far as your writing. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I just kind of write whatever I want to read. I fell into the horror thing just because of someone I knew. So my novel project is not horror. Really, the short stories that some of you guys might have been hearing, they're horror. But the next novel is everything I do is kind of dark, but I wouldn't call the rest of it horror.
Okay.
And I don't know how deep you want me to get into that.
No, go ahead. I mean, this is about you. This isn't about your tie to this community. It's about you and what you write.
Well, I don't talk very much, as you can probably tell. I don't talk to many people. So it's very, very strange to me to be speaking to 5 or so people, I guess.
Okay. Well, let's see who else tunes in later. And I know that, I'm putting this up on my channel, and I know Unit's putting that up on his. So there will be a lot of other people who will be listening to this, just so you know, not to give you stage fright or anything like it. But what is your upcoming novel about?
I can't really tell you yet,
Okay, that's fine.
because
I respect that.
this is some advice I have for people who write. If you're as slow as me, don't
Mhm.
share an idea until it's almost done, because someone will make the movie Lights Out and rip you off. That will
That is
happen.
so true. That is so true. And I know that because I used to write. I actually haven't in a long time. And I got overly excited and then I started sharing. And the next thing you know, I mean, I'm not saying they got the idea from me or anything like that, but I saw it on the screen, a good chunk of it, of my idea. And then I was very
Yeah.
disheartened by it. But,
Oh yeah, it
it happens, I
sucks.
guess.
It does happen. So yeah, that project's a secret for the
Okay.
time being, because I'm only
So
like
top
halfway
secret
through.
project. Do you want
Yeah.
to talk to us about, the writing that Unit's narrated? So guys, Lux has actually narrated a good amount, or not narrated, sorry, written a lot of stories that have been narrated by Unit. And I know that Eden's done a few of them, I think. I'm not sure if there are other narrators in the community that have done it. Have you given anybody else permission?
Yeah. So initially, it's kind of a long story. So initially, it was going to be a project that I collaborated. Like, I did the writing, and then the narrator I knew was going to do all of it, and that got put off for literally like 3-4 years, probably.
Oh my gosh.
So I wrote these stories a long, long time ago, most of them, and when that fell through, I ended up, through that guy, I knew more people in the community, so I ended up reaching out to other people. So Mr. Creepypasta read some. I'm not familiar with all the names, to be real, but a lot of people read them, and they were just kind of not snippets, but they were particular stories, and they were all spread around. And the idea was that if you wanted to hear the grander tale, I guess, because all these stories do connect, you had to kind of bounce around from channel to channel, and it was going to be like a kind of community driven thing. That was the plan. But because of like other people's schedules and things like that, and needing to have everything kind of done at the same time to make it work, it didn't go as well as planned. So I think most people weren't aware when they were listening to something on Eden's channel, for example, that there were more on other channels already at the same time. So there was one story in particular, which is the Leather Man, that Unit really liked, and he actually approached me last year, just because he liked that story, and asked if he could narrate them all. And because like the grand plan I had before didn't really work out, I was like, you know what, just go for it, just do them all. So everything will be on his channel once this last one's done. I think he has removed one because he wants to re-record it. I'm not sure if he's putting that one back up. He got a new mic and stuff, so like, new toy, he wants to improve on his work. But it's either all of them will be up there or all but one.
Got it.
And
that's in Somnus Volume 1, correct?
Yeah, and there is more planned. I've actually got some more written, but it's kind of taken a backseat to the novel at the moment.
Got it. Okay, I'm very intrigued by this novel. I mean, even if it's not horror driven, I like the darker literature, so I'll keep an eye out for that.
Messed up. It's not horror strictly, but it's bad in a good way. I hope
we'll have to keep an eye out for that. So you said Unit initially reached out to you, because I know that you said that you're friends with Unit, and that's how you're involved in all of this right now in the horror narration community.
Yeah, my reach in the horror community is kind of, I know Unit, and I know Rainbot a little bit.
Gotcha.
Rainbot.
Yeah, definitely.
The real stuff. Yeah. That's kind of it for me.
Gotcha. You know what? You were saying that you didn't think too many people knew in the community, but you'd be surprised, because I asked around and they're like, oh yeah, it's that guy that did this story. He wrote it and so narrated it. So you have a...
Yeah, I don't read comments or anything, so I don't know. I hope people like them, is all I'll say.
From what I got, yeah, people enjoy them, and I definitely enjoy them because they're very well written. that's why when I was talking to Unit and, he said he was releasing that as a story, I was like, oh my gosh, I'll interview him. That would be great, because I love the stuff that you write. It makes you think, and it's not just, straightforward, okay, this person died or there's something buried underneath the ground or anything like that. There's more to it. So I
Yeah, well,
appreciate that when
thank
I
you.
listen to a story. Do you have a muse that inspires you to write the darker fiction?
So yeah, this is gonna get weird.
That's fine.
Just to
No
warn
judgment
you.
here.
So it kind of particularly when I was in high school, I didn't sleep much at all.
Mm-hmm.
And because I didn't sleep, I had what my therapist called disassociative episodes, I think was the word she used. So the novel I wrote, Stray, is like a werewolf novel. It's like I think of it as like the anti-Twilight werewolf novel.
Uh-huh.
The entire inspiration for that was a disassociative state, I guess. She called it a fugue state too, and I only know that term from Breaking Bad. I don't really know what it means. But basically, I kind of lived the end scene in my own mind, I guess, while I was wide awake. It's very weird. Like when I snapped back to reality, the teacher was like yelling in my face about me not paying attention.
Oh,
And I was
wow.
like, I was paying attention, but clearly I was not. I have no idea what she was saying. So that came about because of that particular episode. One of the monsters was brought on by sleep paralysis. If you're familiar with what that is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think most of us in the community are.
Yeah, I guess horror people, right? You would know.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had sleep paralysis on several occasions, and one of them was inspired by that, which I would not recommend, in case you're wondering.
Yeah, I hear that's terrifying. You're just not in control and you think, this is happening to you. It's an awful feeling, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like, how do I explain it? You can't move. You can only move your eyes. So you do feel very powerless. I guess you know the mechanics of it. But yeah, it's messed up. It seems very real. And then there was one, the creature from Smile, if you remember that one.
Yeah.
The whole Chelsea Grin thing. That was something I saw on the side of the road when my friend was driving. It was late. I was a free runner for a long time. I still do it occasionally, but I used to free run all the time, like parkour, if you know what that is. So we'd go to all these gyms, and because we travel so far to the gyms, we'd come back super late. And I don't sleep much. So I guess I would have minor hallucinations, I suppose you'd call them. And I saw the thing from Smile on the side of the road as we drove past, but it had wings. And I was like, I don't want it to have wings in the story, so it doesn't have wings in the story. But that's where that came from. So it comes from all kinds of weird places, nightmares. Some of it just, I thought it up in the shower.
The things you've definitely experienced, it's not even like you saw a scary movie and it inspired you. It's events that have happened to you.
Yeah, so this is the thing. And again, like, I don't recommend being like me in any sense. I don't really read a lot of books. I don't really watch a lot of movies. Pretty much all of my entertainment is kind of video games. I play games a bunch. So I don't usually get inspired by other people's work. And I kind of don't like to be inspired by other people's work if I can help it, because I don't want to rip anybody off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, see, in a way, I feel like it taints you. Like your ideas, you don't want to seem unoriginal and you don't want to be influenced by something that's out there already. And then all of a sudden you're writing and then you finish it and you're like, well, this sounds an awful lot like this other thing, so I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So, but the truth of it is, for the vast majority of people, if you want to write or you want to create a movie or any of that stuff, you are better off experiencing a lot of that stuff and just absorbing it and learning from it. I don't know. I don't, for my own reasons, and also because with reading in particular, I'm actually very slow. I don't know why that is. I used to speed read and I felt like I wasn't taking it in, and then I slowed it down on purpose, and then I've never been able to speed back up, I guess.
Well, see, the fact that you've experienced these things lends a feeling of authenticity to your characters and the stories that I've heard that were written by you.
Mm.
And now it makes sense. Now I understand why it is that it feels so authentic. And that's because you've actually had real things that have happened to you and you've turned them into these fictional stories.
Yeah, I don't know where else I get it from, honestly. I don't know how people come up with stuff.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, like I said, will say like, "Oh, I saw this," or I was just thinking about this, and it'll be like a small thing, but you've encountered some darker things in your life, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's strange.
But you've made something pretty amazing out of it, so kudos to you.
I think that's kind of the way to deal with it, right? You need an outlet.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to deal with it. I know that a lot of people turn to unhealthy things to deal with whatever's happened to them, but I mean, you come up with really entertaining and intricate stories. Do you
Well,
have a favorite story? I'm sorry, what?
I'm glad you think so, at least.
Do you have a favorite story you've written?
So I do. It's not one that's in the book. It's one that just kind of it's only posted on a blog that I don't update. I don't think I put anything on it for a long time. But Mr. Creepypasta also narrated it a couple years ago. It's called From the Sky. I don't know if you've heard that one or read that one. Probably not read
It
it because
sounds
no one's seen
familiar.
the blog in ever. I think it's had about 11 views since I started. So that story, it's kind of poetic in its language and it's surreal, which is something I love. It's very short, and I feel like as far as like a piece of writing goes, as far as the craft goes, I think it's the most perfect thing I've ever done. It's the closest thing to perfect I've ever done.
What is the premise of it?
See, I don't want to explain that because it's deliberately ambiguous,
You
and
have to listen to it.
I yeah, I want people to take their own things from it because there's what inspired it for me, and there's what caused me to write it. But when I this is when I used to read comments in the beginning.
Hmm.
When I saw what people were saying about it, it was heavily misinterpreted, and I kind of don't want to stop that, if you know what I mean. Because
Okay,
everyone
now I have to go
things.
listen to it. The title of it sounds very familiar. So maybe I have listened to it, which is also why I was asking you what the premise is, because I was trying to figure out if I've read it or not. But I'll
It
just go
begins with
listen to it
something
again.
falling from the sky, and then it's dark and weird and
Oh, so I
kind of
actually
what the heck.
found I found the story on Mr. Creepypasta's channel, and he has a link to the original.
Oh, he does.
So yeah.
That's where those 11 views came from.
Yeah, he has a link to the original. Interesting. Okay, I'll have to go listen to it after this, and you guys should probably go listen to it too, because I'm sure you won't be disappointed. But because you said it's so ambiguous, I'll be listening extra closely.
You have to let me know what you think it's about, and then I will not confirm it for you.
Oh, you will not confirm it?
Definitely
That's
not.
not fair. It's whatever
We
you want it to mean, right?
well, no, I know what it means. I just don't want anyone else in on it if they don't figure it
All
out on
right.
their own.
So even if I get it right, you won't tell me.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah.
Oy. Okay. All right. I guess I'll just have to deal with it. Is there
The
a
Insomnia
character that
stories have actual plots in them
they do?
that are
They do. They're
understandable.
very, yeah, they're defined. I was left wondering a couple of times how it interlinked with the rest of them, though. And some of them I
Mm.
never got answers to because, like you said, there were a few of them out, but then, the whole project wasn't complete. So,
Yeah, Unit is the place to go for that. Or I guess you can read it on Kindle and stuff like that.
the
But
link
pretty
you
much
sent
everything will be
me,
on here.
the link you sent me is for your other book, though. So, where is the link to the Insomnus?
It should just be listed beneath it, I think,
Let me see.
if you scroll down.
Mm, No, I have the UK and the US versions.
Oh, I mean
Or
on the page, on the Amazon page.
oh, hold on. Nope, nope. These are sponsored products by other people.
What? How dare they? How dare Amazon do that?
How dare they? All right. So let me see if I can find.
I can find it for you if you want. It will just be the loudest keyboard you've ever heard.
Oh, no worries. I actually found it. I found
Okay.
it. Okay. So, guys, this is actually part of a whole book. I should have stated that in the beginning. I'm sorry. All the stories that have been narrated by Lux are actually part of a real book, and I know that Unit always stresses that in his videos. And I know Eden also stated, I believe, that that they are part of a book, and you guys should all go read the book because there's some cohesion in that you don't get when it's narrated.
Yeah, and I mean, it will be. You'll get it now from Unit stuff because it'll all be there in one
It'll
playlist.
all
And
be together as well.
I think I'm gonna upload a full volume 1 just in a single video. I do have a YouTube channel. I just don't use it, just so it's complete for people who like to fall asleep to that kind of thing,
Yeah.
or listen to it all in one go.
Okay.
So I'm
whenever
planning to do that. Yeah.
available, I'll go ahead and I'll link it on here too, so that people can just listen to it in one go. I don't know. For me personally, I love listening to the narrations, but I would prefer, in your sense, or in your case, I would prefer to read it also because I don't know. I just love books. And I guess I'm not a huge fan of audiobooks, and I feel like that's almost what some narrations are. So if it's originally a book, I would rather read the book first and then go listen to it.
I understand because I again, being kind of, I guess, atypical in this whole situation, I don't like being read to at all. I prefer to read myself when I do. It's not my thing. There's a lot of people who are very good at it, and I can respect the work that goes into it, but it's not for me personally.
For sure. Like I said, I love listening to the narrations on YouTube, but if it's originally a book, I'll go read the book. I have no problem with it. I love to read. My next question was, is there a character you've written about in the past that you wish you could reimagine or redo?
Not that springs to mind. The only thing I can think of even close to that is initially when I did some of the stories, I became aware quite quickly that some of them were probably going to be narrated. So I actually, I kind of cut them down a little bit. There was less in there than I was initially planning because I didn't want all of the stories to be as long as, I think the Leatherman is the longest one. I think the audio ends up being like 40, 45 minutes, depending on who reads it, I think. And to me, that was like, no one's going to pay attention for that long because I don't. So I started kind of making some of the stories snappier. Again, like during the actual process, I wasn't taking things out after the fact or anything. I was just cognizant of the pacing, and I wanted to keep it kind of a little bit faster than I ordinarily would. It turns out that a lot of people actually really like the longer stories, so I probably didn't need to do that. So maybe if I did it again, I wouldn't do that, and I don't plan to do that if I guess when I get around to writing the rest of them.
Okay. That's interesting. But yeah, people will seem to really enjoy the longer stories, especially when they're good stories, obviously. But okay, so it's not a reimagining of a character in particular. It's just you would make them as long as you originally intended to. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a particular topic that you prefer to write about? I mean, the Insomnus obviously fits within the horror genre, but is there something, a theme or anything that you prefer to stick to, or even in your other book?
So I like dark themes a lot, and I also kind of like a dark comedy.
Oh.
So I like to make things funny in an awkward way. It doesn't come up in Insomnus too much, but there's a lot of dark humor in the new project. There's quite a lot in the in Stray, the werewolf book. And generally, like I find the real world super boring. So the further removed from reality it is, the more I enjoy writing it. Is as a general rule.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I know a lot of people, a lot of very successful people, will write a period drama that is super accurate to the time that it happened, and everyone's wearing the right corsets and stuff, and all these details are in there. That's too much for me. I don't care about any of that. I want like ghosts and
You want it to be
weird things to
entertaining.
happen. Yeah, entertaining to me at least. As long as it entertains me, it's not a complete waste of time, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to take care of yourself first, right?
I think
Um,
the rule generally that I've always been told to follow is write what you want to read, write what you feel like is missing. So even when it came to this kind of online horror community kind of deal, I haven't really read any creepypasta. I think I read one that was about some doors that had numbers on them that was quite good. I got sent that, like someone going through a series of rooms. I don't know what it was
oh,
called.
No End House. It's probably No
That
End House.
probably. I think that one was pretty good if it's the right one. And I read that, so I was like, right, no numbered doors, never doing that, not reading anything else. I'll do my own thing.
All right. Well, now you know what to stay away from just by, the numbered doors.
Yeah, but I heard from people I knew that a lot of it was kind of passed off as real, or they tried to be kind of contemporary campfire stories, essentially, which is a really cool concept, and it's actually quite an easy thing to pull off if that's what you want to do, in my opinion.
Campfire tales, yeah.
Yeah, because you just have I think the main problem people tend to have with this kind of thing when they get it wrong is that they actually add too much, because then they make it less and less believable by doing that.
Yeah, they overdo it. They're aspiring to be, to make it sound like it's real, but it's just overkill.
Yeah, exactly. So I heard a lot of it was kind of like that, and I wanted to go the opposite and have something that was almost more traditional, like a Poe or Lovecraft style, but set in like a modern age, because obviously none of those were. Modern age makes it a lot harder, obviously, because everyone just has a phone.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Yeah, definitely. But you know what? It goes along with what you were saying earlier, that you write what you think is missing out there, and that's definitely missing out there. We need more writers like that.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's probably a lot more of it now than there was when I did these the Insomnus stories. I really don't know. Like I don't keep up on any of it, but if there isn't, there should be, because I feel like that it's a good opportunity to pull people into that kind of classic horror storytelling, because there's a young audience that is like way into this stuff.
Oh, for sure. For sure. The kids just eat the stuff up. That's why, for horror channels, their highest views are in the summertime when all the kids are home and have all this time to listen to it. So, yeah, there's definitely a demand for it, especially, when it's handed to them in where you just listen to it. They don't have to read it, unfortunately, because kids don't seem to like to read too much anymore. But yeah, there's definitely room for that.
There is a discussion to be had for sure about like the barrier to entry. Like the lower it is, the better, I guess. But also, at the same time, it does lose something for me if because you don't bring your own voice to it if you listen to someone else's. Is kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why, like I was telling you earlier, I prefer to read the book. I'll go and watch the movie or, listen to the narration, but if it's a book originally, I'd rather read the book first.
I understand that. It's also the intended format usually for a lot of movies. They have to cut huge things out because they just wouldn't fit in the runtime.
Yeah. for sure. They cut out like half of most of the books that are turned into movies.
Mhm.
So I know you can't talk to us about your upcoming novel. Are there any other future projects you can discuss or are willing to?
I mean, I tried to do one at a time because before I spread myself so thin that I couldn't keep up. So really, that upcoming novel is the focus. Occasionally, I write some poetry and things like that, haikus sometimes, just
Ooh.
whatever feels good at the time. Uh, but
But yeah, I
beyond that,
understand the wanting to focus on one thing,
I
especially if it's
have
a big
written.
project.
Oh, it's huge. Like it takes forever. Has anyone ever told you it takes a long time to write a book? Because it does.
Yeah, I've
But
been at it for 10 years.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just one in my
Yeah,
case.
for sure.
So the only thing that comes to mind is that I've already written some of volume 2.
Okay.
That's been hanging around for quite a while. What I've already done of it, but it got pushed aside because I learned some things about the industry, I guess, becoming an author and that kind of thing. Is
Mhm.
it has all these weird rules that no one was really saying up front back when I wrote my first novel and the short stories. So I wrote the
Mhm.
novel and self-published it. And I was like, cool. And if people like it, which it turns out they do, it's just hard to get
Mhm.
it in people's hands because they don't know it exists.
Mhm.
Then I'll try and get it traditionally published. I can be like, look, these people like it. Would you publish it? Turns
If
out,
only it worked that way.
yeah, if it's been self-published, they don't want to know. So that's what I learned
Yeah.
after it was already out, which is a problem. And
Yeah,
that's
I know.
why a sequel to that is not currently what I'm working on as well, because I couldn't properly publish a sequel when the prequel is self-published. No one will accept that manuscript.
Yeah.
Um, so that was mistake number one. Mistake number two is that no one wants short stories. You can either submit them to magazines, but that doesn't fit with what I was doing because they were all connected, or you can just kind of release it yourself usually. Um,
Yeah.
so those are the two things I learned, which have led me to do this other idea, which I've had for a long time. But it was kind of further down my list of priorities. Uh,
And that's
until those two
understandable.
things happened. Yeah.
Yeah, I see that the rules of publishing and all that was something I looked into as well. And depending on the publisher, but apparently many of them don't like it when there's even a piece of it of your book posted anywhere on the internet. Like if you have a blog where you posted little excerpts, when what I found at the time, which was a couple years ago, was they basically nulled you from being able to publish the book with them because they didn't want any piece of it out there, which I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
with technology the way it is, it's becoming more and more impossible.
yeah, and it's very easy to find if you did post it anywhere.
Yeah.
It's usually archived in some form or fashion. So there's really kind of no getting out of it once you did it. So that would be
Yep.
some advice to any aspiring authors: is if you really want something to be on a shelf,
It
you
has to
have
be a
to,
secret,
yeah, you have to
basically.
keep it secret. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's unfortunate. Mandy has a really good question. She's asking what he finds difficult most when he's writing. That is a really good.
Motivation for me is the huge
Oh,
thing, which sounds silly, I guess, but I I have major depressive disorder, and I just have since like day zero. So even with like medications and stuff, sometimes for like weeks at a time, I just can't get myself to do anything. Uh, so it affects everything. It affects like because I work freelance. That's how I actually make a living. Is I work freelance in marketing, basically.
oh,
And it turns out marketing is real easy if you're a big company that has a bunch of money already,
yeah,
because you just pay for something and then more people
yeah.
know about that thing. So not a especially difficult job, but time
Hmm.
consuming. But I do that freelance, which means that most of the time I can focus on trying to exist in a way that doesn't make me miserable, which is still difficult. But that's really my biggest hurdle, and it's not one I would wish on anybody, and it's not one I really have a solution to if anyone has the same problem. Other than like medication does help me personally. I know it's not for everybody, but
Yeah.
I've definitely improved because of it. And exercise helps a bit. Some people think it's a cure. I do a lot of exercise, and it's not a cure, but it does help. It's useful.
Well, you know what? You were still able to have brought us these amazing stories, and I'm sure your book is great, the one that I haven't read. So, I mean, obviously, whatever you're doing is working to some extent, at least.
It's just working very slowly. That's the problem. You hear about Stephen King. He's like, it should take you no more than, I think he said like 12 weeks to write a first draft. I mean, I can't get out of bed for 12 weeks sometimes. What are you talking about?
I don't think that's a fair assessment. I think every single writer has a different method and they have a different way of going about things. So I just don't believe that you should put yourself up against a deadline like he does. Or like he mentioned, like it shouldn't take you more than 12 weeks. It doesn't work that way for, I feel like, most writers. Most of them take at least a year.
Yeah, and I'm definitely like a year plus on anything. And anything big, like a major project, like a novel, takes me a long time. And I'm kind of picky. I was less picky with the Insomnia stuff because it's easier to it's easier to kind of improve something and refine it when it's short form. Whereas I'm sure you know this too, like when it's a novel or something that's long, even like a novella or something that's longer, it's a nightmare sometimes to turn it into a cohesive finished product that you're happy with.
Yeah. Yeah, I have chapters 1 through 5 done, and then I have bits of chapters 18, 21, and 25. And that's where it's been sitting at.
And a lot of people do that because you jump into the part that you're feeling inspired to do right now, and that would probably be more effective for me. I write in a linear fashion usually, but that does lead to, and I hear this is common for a lot of people, especially people who are super picky, like doing the same 3 chapters over and over and just like reading it and changing 2 words and then reading it and changing 2 more. There is some of that goes on for sure.
Well, see, the problem I ran into, which is why I chose not to go linear, because that's how it started off for a long time, was I kept going back and redoing it and redoing it. And I'm like, I'm not getting anywhere. I have the first 3, but I'm not going anywhere. And I know where I need to get to, and I know what fills out the rest of this. So maybe I should leave this alone for a little bit and start on this other part that I'm really desperate to get into. So that's how I ended up with this chopped up material.
And there's a lot of truth to that. I think I think you are right to do it that way, especially if it works for you in particular. I don't know if it would necessarily work for me, but I would definitely get more done, I think. And the truth of it is, like, when I finished the first draft of the previous novel, it was kind of a mess. It was still kind of a mess. It took a lot. So I don't feel like it would be any more messy if I'd written some of it out of order, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, everybody who writes, has a different technique for it. So I don't know if it would work for anybody else, but that's just where I'm at right now. And clearly I haven't finished, so maybe that wasn't the best idea either. But yeah, I mean, obviously you've been able to finish, other projects. So whatever you're doing is working for you, even if it's not as fast as Stephen King would like it to be,
Yeah. Stephen, very judgmental, I find.
Yeah, very much so. And it's a little bit off-putting sometimes, to be honest. But like Unit was saying, because I saw Unit in the chat, he's still a master of his craft. So, but yeah, I don't think writing should be a cookie cutter thing. It's different for everyone, in my opinion. I wanted to ask you, how did you stumble upon the horror community on YouTube? I know you said you had a particular narrator you were initially working with, but how did you find us all?
I just knew a narrator in person. That's
Oh, in
it.
person. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. That
Mhm.
definitely makes sense now.
So
Okay.
that I didn't know this whole scene existed until then, but I was working on Stray, the novel,
Mm-hmm.
and I talked to him, and he brought this whole YouTube thing up. It was kind of like a newer thing at the time. YouTube wasn't new, but this idea of like making a living from it was.
Yeah.
Um, and he was like, "Oh, you're working on a book already. Maybe you should try write something that I can read." And I just ended up doing that because I came up with an idea, and then, as is often the way, I suppose, that idea kind of grew into this much bigger thing that had all these different characters and monsters in it. And there's something I did intentionally with Insomnus because of the particular audience it's directed towards.
Mm-hmm.
I intentionally left a lot of blank space between events. So there are events that you can see like an A to B to C connection. You have to
Mm-hmm.
kind of look for it, but it is there. But in terms of if I were to put it on a timeline, there are kind of big gaps in certain places that aren't necessary to be filled for the grander plot, but they do allow the audience to kind of imagine. And some people write fan fiction. You could even fill in the blanks yourself if you wanted to, because I wouldn't even call them blanks, to be real, but it's just spaces in time, so that these monsters, these creatures, these people can be off doing other things. And that, again, I don't usually do that. I usually fill in everything.
Mm-hmm.
That was just there was a lot of experimentation with Insomnus, just because I was kind of messing around with it. It's kind of this new
Mm-hmm.
thing, and it was online. And Unit has borne the brunt of some of it, because in the Leatherman, there's a bunch of alliteration, purely because I thought it was fun to do to do a bunch of it, but he had to read it out loud, which is way harder.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It was for me. It was not for him. So
Yeah.
he's the people who narrate it really pay for it, I guess. But there's a lot of like experimentation. There are certain elements that are kind of meta in some of the stories, and there's just a lot of little things sprinkled in there that I was doing to just kind of see what I could do with it.
Gotcha. And then my final question to you was, why did you choose the name Lux Noctis to write under?
Because I've always been fascinated by Latin, because it's like this dead language, which is just bizarre to me. That it becomes kind of, it feels almost arcane at this point in time. But that
Yeah.
was, people just said these things for a long time, and that's always really been kind of interesting to me.
Okay.
And the meaning of it's light the night, or light of the night. And so when I read that as like a turn of phrase, it's kind of, in a way, it was like, I kind of want to be that for people in a sense, because I have all these sleepless nights and I enjoy this like dark entertainment. So I kind of want to create more of that for people who are a bit like me. Hopefully not too much like me,
Ooh,
but
I
a
like
bit like
that.
me. So that's where that came from. And there's also a little bit of irony to it, because I am the moodiest person. I am not a light to anybody, really. I'm well aware of that.
Well, your writing is, at least. I can't say for you personally, but your writing definitely is.
Yeah, so I had kind of a double thing going on there. It was supposed to be a positive and also a little joke at my own expense.
Nice, very nice. And Polian has a question for you. He wants to know if you've ever thought about going to conventions.
I have thought about it. I don't know where any of them are. I don't know how one would start, like even setting something like that up. I was looking into going to some in America, because I've lived in the States for varying periods of time.
Ooh.
in the past, and the majority of my audience is there for whatever reason. Like people here don't,
We like the
even
dark
people I
stuff.
know, they just don't care, and no one here cares. So yeah, I've thought about doing some over there, but I don't really know where to begin. And then it's things like having the money to, for example, buy books and merch and have all that stuff ready to go on a table, I guess, because that's the point of them, right? You meet people and then
Yeah.
they can see what you do.
To your
Is
work.
my understanding? Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I've thought about it a little bit, but I wouldn't know where to start is the answer to that.
Gotcha. Okay. And then Unit wants to know, out of the stories featured in Insomnus, which one would you like to see adapted into a film?
Ooh.
That's a good one.
That is a good one. So I kind of think they make a really good like Netflix series, all of them. I imagined that before. If it was just one, I think Within the Walls probably, because that I could see. For one, it's one of my favorites because it has a lot of surrealist elements in it, and that's kind of my bag, really. And two, it has the best chance of getting greenlit, I think, because it's set in a spooky house, and it's the only one that is. Because I don't like that setting so much because it's kind of cliche, but because the subject of the story is not typical, and because the type of horror that's in it isn't typical, really, I didn't mind the standard setting so much in that one.
Mm-hmm.
So that I think would be really good, or one of the other surreal stories.
Okay. Yeah, see, I think a Netflix series with all of them would be great. I could
It would. That would be the dream, and then it would get a second season and then be canceled like everything else.
Let's hope not. Well, that's why you
Just
need
make it only 2 seasons.
two ready to go.
Yeah, that's what everyone should do. Just have 2 series only, and then Netflix can't get in there and ruin your dream.
Yeah, because there's no more to ruin. That's great.
Like, joke's on you, Netflix. I'm done. And then you just leave and you're never seen again.
And okay, so this wasn't one of my questions, but if you wanted to have people, or you wanted to draw the people watching or rather listening to this to check out your work, what would you tell them?
I don't know. I'm really bad at that, which is kind of ironic given that my job is in marketing. I'm not good at I'm not good at self-promotion. I kind of pride myself on honesty, and a lot of marketing is not that.
Yeah, trust me, I completely understand because I'm terrible at doing that too. So
yeah, I mean, I think you might like them. That is my plea, I guess.
His work
people
is
do enjoy them, and that's kind of it. Mediocre plus, at least.
It's pretty great. I really endorse his work. And I'm sure Unit does too, because he's read all of Insomnus 1. I don't think he would have done that otherwise. So it's endorsed by Unit and I. So you guys should definitely check out both the book and the narrations on Unit's channel, which he is about to upload, I think, the last bit of it either tonight or tomorrow. I don't know if Unit has a playlist for it. Unit, do you have a playlist for these? Can you enlighten us so we can direct people to the playlist? Oh, wow. So many other people. Hi, everyone. Thank you for your donations, Empoleon and Gugu. Very nice to see you guys. Really appreciate it. Let's see. Still waiting for that response from Unit because this has a 5-second lag or something, I think. And then he would. Yes, there is a playlist. He just answered. Yeah. So I will also include that playlist in the description below once this is over. And I think that's it for me. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. Let me make sure I didn't miss any questions for you.
Sure. And don't forget to subscribe to Unit because he is a good egg.
Yeah.
One of the finest eggs I know is how I would describe him.
No, Unit is definitely great, and he has been such a supportive friend to me, and he's great at what he does. So definitely go check out his channel for sure. But I'd be shocked if you guys know my channel and don't know Units, honestly, because I mean he's huge out there. Yes, Telltale, you is the best. Thank you, Mandy. I appreciate that. Okay, I think we're just going to wrap it up then, guys. I don't think I missed anything. Once again, thank you everybody for tuning in. And this interview is also going to go up on Unit's channel. And so if you guys want to go listen to it or you missed part of it, because I know in the beginning it hadn't refreshed for whatever reason for some of you, go ahead and go check it out on Unit's channel. And check out Lux Noctis's work. I have linked his books below in the description. And he has a top secret project coming up, so keep an eye out for that because it sounds really exciting. And yeah, is there anything you wanted to add to it, Lex?
Not really. Just thanks for listening to me talk for a while.
No, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed getting to know what makes you tick better. And I think I have a better grasp as to why it is that your stories feel authentic.
Cool. Well, yeah, thanks to your audience. Again, I still can't see them, but I'm sure that
well, if you want to go back and see what everybody posted, you will be able to see it after this ends. So just in case you're curious. Anyway, guys, I will see you on the next video. Please stay safe. Margbot out.